Good day everyone! Today I am about to discuss to you Chapter 6.4.2 Biomaterials and Chapter 6.4.2.1 Foreign Body Reaction. For our introduction, biomaterials are materials that are implanted as prostheses in the body. Prostheses have been used for decades. In the 1920s and 1930s, materials such as vanadium steels, stainless steel, cobalt, titanium, and gold has been used. These materials lack the surface properties that would make them biologically compatible. Although strength in the material can be given by the bulk material, the surface properties have an important role since they need to directly interact with the body of the human body. For obvious reasons, the surface material must not be toxic or carcinogenic in any way. It must also be biocompatible, being recognized as a non-foreign material. If the material is recognized as a foreign material, the body will not accept it and proper healing will not occur. So what is biocompatibility? Biocompatibility is a difficult term to clearly define, but it is often defined in terms of if the material fulfills its intended purpose. This may have different characteristics depending on what type of application it is used for. Some applications require adhesion to cells, and biocompatible also does not mean being without side effects. There may be minimal side effects even though the material may be performing its duty very well. Polymeric nanofibers have the application of creating an extracellular matrix or ECM that is often needed in the wound healing process. This has been the potential to speed the healing process if the material is biocompatible. Natural polymers have also been integrated in the nanofiber. Lecithin and collagen have been known to increase the biocompatibility and even allow for the cells to proliferate easier on the ECM. This is due to the presence of natural proteins in the nanofiber, leading to a higher cytocompatibility. So here, as you can see in the table, we have applications of synthetic and modified biological materials. In the first column, you can see the material. In the second column, the application. And in the third column, the tissue response. So for example, we have a titanium alloy with an application of joint prosthesis, oral implants, fixation plates, pacemaker, and heart valves. The tissue response is inert. Also, we have carbon with an application of heart valves and tissue response of inert. Also, we have alumina with an application of joint prosthesis and oral implants with the same tissue response, which is inert. So now, let us move on to the foreign body reaction. So the presence of a foreign body can lead to the host cells rejecting the implant in the process called foreign body reaction. We have four potential results of a foreign body being introduced in a biological system. First, we have integration. Second, we have extrusion. Third, we have resorption. And fourth, we have encapsulation. Next. So integration is obviously the most desired outcome of a biomaterial implantation, since it will interact with the biological system as if it were a part of the system. The number of cases of true biointegration achieved has been limited. Most frequently, there have been cases of bone tissue implants with titanium coated with hydroxyapatite. Most often, soft tissue such as skin implantation results in the other three outcomes. Next, we have extrusion. Extrusion occurs when the implanted device is in contact with epithelial cells and the epithelium will form a pocket around the implantation. If it is close to the surface of the epithelium, it will gradually push out of the host. Next, we have resorption. Occurs when the implant is made of degradable material and the implant degrades, resulting in a collapsed scar at the implantation site. Next, we have encapsulation. encapsulation of soft tissue is the most frequent foreign body reaction. The capsule consists of a membrane of a high amount of collagen with a layer of myofibroblasts outside the membrane. The implant is then isolated from the body. Mouse, 2005. So now, as you can see in the picture, the figure shows the cell structure after 3 days on the various nanofiber blends after adhesion and proliferation were examined. The cells are clearly growing, attached to the matrix. The cytotoxic effect of the nanofiber was measured by measuring levels of pyruvic acid with a spectrophotometer. The lactate dehydrogenase activity in the medium was examined. There was a slight increase in toxicity as the lecithin was incorporated into the cells. So I have prepared videos for you to further understand our discussion for this day.
Hi guys, welcome back to the BME Prep. Today we will be talking about what is biomaterials. The definition of a biomaterial is any matter, surface, or construct that interacts with biological systems. They can be derived from nature or synthesized in the lab using metallic components, polymers, ceramics, or composite materials. Biomaterials, just like BB and biomechanics, is a multidisciplinary field that has established disciplines in medicine, chemistry, chemical engineering, mechanical engineering, biomedical engineering, and materials science. Biomaterials are used in many different ways in today's medical practice in medical implants, methods to promote healing of human tissues, regenerated human tissues, molecular probes and nanoparticles, biosensors, and drug delivery systems. Examples of medical implants include but are not limited to heart valves, stents, grafts, artificial joints, ligaments, tendons, hearing loss implants, and dental implants. Examples of regenerated human tissues include scaffolds, cells, and bioactive molecules. As far as my experience goes in this regard, I was able to spend a semester researching for the Chemical and Biological Engineering Department at RPI and got to work with bioinks in order to 3D bioprint a human skin graft made of a matrix of different cells. The applications of such a discovery will hopefully allow for a complete healing process of burn victims, but for now, it has been established that these grafts can be used to help heal patients with pressure ulcers or diabetic ulcers as well. The definition of a biosensor is a device that is able to detect the presence and amount of specific substances and transmit the data, such as in a diabetic patient to monitor glucose levels. And finally, drug delivery systems are able to carry out and apply drugs to a targeted area, such as in cancer patients, and using drug-coated vascular stents or implantable chemotherapy wafers. Like the other two concentrations offered at RPI, biomaterials plays a role in a vast number of ways beyond what is possible today, which makes it such an integral part of society in the infinite number of studies performed in the engineering and medical world. The search for new advances in the medical field will never end, which makes biomedical engineering more and more important each day, especially given the climate we are in today with COVID-19. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you learned a lot today about biomaterials, and this will become the main focus of my channel from here on out. I hope that you are excited and willing to learn about biomaterials in the next few weeks. I will see you next time. Bye!
Your body is made up of cells that fit together like pieces in a puzzle. When you get hurt, your cells can multiply and replace the lost cells. But if a lot of your cells are lost, this healing power isn't enough. In these cases, you can use an implant, like an artificial arm, to make up for the missing cells. This implant, however, has to fit into the puzzle, meaning that it has to be acceptable to your body. Your immune cells will attack materials that they don't like, which is nearly everything. But the material also shouldn't be uncomfortable or easily broken. A biocompatible material is designed to fit into the puzzle. It's compatible with your biology. So how can this kind of material be designed for something like an artificial arm? We can borrow a solution used most famously in hip replacements. Made out of titanium alloy, a strong metal which your immune cells usually don't mind. In fact, your bone cells will accept titanium alloy as their own and bond with it. In this situation, titanium alloy is a pretty biocompatible material, so artificial arms can be attached in the same way. Step 1. Insert a titanium rod into the bone. Step 2. The bone cells merge with the rod. Step 3. Attach the artificial arm to the rod. The result is both comfortable and biologically acceptable. Thanks to the problem-solving abilities of material scientists, humans can be supplied with not just artificial limbs, but contact lenses, pacemakers, and many other devices. We all live longer, more comfortable lives. And materials science and engineering makes it possible.
Did you know that worldwide, osteoporosis causes more than 9 million fractures annually? As a result, there is an osteoporotic fracture every 3 seconds. Imagine how these millions of patients must feel. At Evonik's Medical Device Competence Center in Birmingham, Alabama, experts are working together with Evonik colleagues around the world on solutions to help those patients. They are developing polymer materials that are lightweight, increase bone formation, and can also be completely absorbed by the body, reducing the need for removal surgery. These polymers are already used in a variety of applications. For example, for the treatment of fractures of the hands, feet, cranial, and facial, for the reconstruction of tendons in the shoulder or knee, or for stents, which keep clogged arteries open after a heart attack. The advantage of implants made of Resomer polymer is that they can be completely absorbed by the body, with precise control of degradation. Ideally, the implant degrades over time as healing progresses and the load-bearing capacity of the bone increases. This eliminates the need of an unpleasant secondary surgery, which would be inevitable using metal applications. But if the implant needs to stay in the body permanently, another Evonik polymer, VestiKeep, can be used. VestiKeep is biocompatible and comparable to human bone in its elasticity. But we're not stopping here. Evonik's experts are also developing different materials, such as powders and filaments for various 3D printing technologies, in order to create patient-specific implants that come right out of a 3D printer. Currently, surgeons have to select the most appropriate implant from a number of standard sizes. By using a 3D printer and Evonik polymer instead, an individualized implant could be available within a matter of hours, perfectly made specific to the patient's needs. At Evonik, we're constantly working on solutions to improve patients' lives.
Evonik. Power to create.
The influence of polyvinyl difluoride and polypropylene on foreign body reaction, a comparison. Have you ever wondered what actually happens when you, the surgeon, implant a mesh? How does the tissue react to the polymer and the structure? Imagine you are stood on the surface of the mesh and can observe what happens here just a few milliseconds after the latter's implantation. Almost immediately after implantation of the mesh, autologous proteins such as albumin and fibrinogen are absorbed on the surface. The changes to and degeneration of the proteins represents a strong immunological stimulus, in particular for the macrophage, which can be found at the interface just a few minutes after implantation. The macrophage is activated as a result of the contact with the proteins and, in turn, releases messengers which serve to initiate the foreign body reaction. Ever more macrophages are attracted chemotactically to the site, where they form the early foreign body granuloma. It takes only a few hours for the mesh to be enveloped and fully covered by the macrophages. During release of the messengers, other important cells are also attracted, in particular fibroblasts, which are responsible for the cicatricial envelopment of the mesh. Even on day 1, many fibroblasts are present which form an early parafilamentary scar. Both T lymphocytes and polymorphonuclear granulocytes are present, which disappear as the granuloma ages. As the process continues, the number of cells in the granuloma increases, and after 1 week, an early foreign body granuloma can be recognized with its typical layering. In the interior, the macrophage layer, and outside the fibrous or cicatricial capsule comprising collagen fibers and a great number of fibroblasts. The foreign body granuloma now starts to age, and there is increased vascularization, a process which is evident after only 2 weeks. Endothelial cells firstly form simple endothelial tubes, which subsequently develop into capillaries. Here, good dense vascularization is proof of the optimal integration of the material in the implant bed. The extent of the foreign body reaction and the extent to which the granuloma envelops the individual mesh fibers essentially depends on the polymer used. The intensity and type of macrophage activity on the surface is closely correlated with the thickness and diameter of the fibrous capsule in the outer granuloma area, the parameter which is of particular importance for the subsequent functioning of the mesh. The foreign body reaction of the PVDF is minimal. Due to the lesser stimulation of the macrophages during implant healing, this polymer results in a significantly smaller granuloma width and fibrous capsule development. In contrast, we have the PP. Here, both the macrophage layer and the peripheral connective tissue capsule are more pronounced. Let's now leave the surface of the mesh and take another look at the implant as a whole from above. Following implantation, the mesh is very quickly covered with proteins, which form the foreign body granuloma and a cicatricial covering around the mesh. The scar capsule is shown in purple here. And again as a cross-section. Inside the mesh, then the foreign body granuloma and the outer scar capsule. The comparison of PVDF and PP shows that, given the same suture thickness and pore size with PVDF, the scar capsule is significantly smaller. With PP, there is increased bridging due to scar tissue formation which, in part, completely fills the pores of the mesh. For our PP mesh, this means that the pore structure is essentially lost and that there is a more extensive cicatricial covering around it. In contrast, the PVDF mesh is shown on the left here. For the most part, the pore structure has been retained. Healing of the mesh implant into the abdominal wall with only minimal cicatricial capsule formation is of particular importance to patients. Minimal foreign body reaction and scar formation lead to optimal integration of the implant, and as a result of the reduced level of scarring, the flexibility of the mesh is retained. For your patients, the reduced connective tissue induction of PVDF equates to retained flexibility of the abdominal wall, as well as optimal wearing comfort, with significantly reduced foreign body sensation.
So this ends our discussion for today. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.